Welcome to today's webinar, which is on starting your journey to automated business processes using Oracle NetSuite SuiteSuccess Starter Edition. Before we get into today's webinar, we'll just start with a quick run through of the agenda. So we'll start by going through a bit about OneKloudX, so who we are as a NetSuite solution provider. We'll then discuss the NetSuite platform. So if there's any of you on today's webinar that aren't familiar with NetSuite, we'll give a high-level overview of the system before we go into our focus of today's session, which is on the Starter Edition of NetSuite. We'll then go into an overview demonstration. We'll try and make this the focus of today's webinar. Don't want to go deaf by PowerPoint. And we'll have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions at all as we go through today's webinar, then please feel free to drop those in the Q&A box and we'll tackle those at the end. So a bit about myself. My name's Ross Johnstone. I am an account manager and pre-sales engineer here at OneKloudX. So I lead the ERP pre-sales process for any prospects that are looking into NetSuite as an ERP or a replacement of their current systems. In addition to that, I also provide the ongoing account management for existing and new OneKloudX clients. So who is OneKloudX? So OneKloudX is a solution provider of Oracle NetSuite, as well as a provider and partner of Salesforce, Elmo, Adaptive Insights, and Power BI. But of course, today's session is focused on Oracle NetSuite. Now, as an organization, our purpose is to empower organizations to pursue new levels of innovation and efficiency by delivering open, agile, and affordable cloud solutions. Now, in terms of NetSuite, we have over 100 years combined team experience in delivering software as a service, and we have over 35 people across Australia and Asia. Now, we were founded in 2018, and since then we have been supporting and implementing NetSuite across a wide variety of industries, and we have recently exceeded over 70 NetSuite customers to date. Here's a snippet of some of the customers that we work with. Of course, this is just an example, and you'll see here that we have got customers across a wide variety of industries, whether that be the likes of wholesale distribution, manufacturing, services, you name it, we have got customers within that industry. So in terms of the NetSuite platform itself, for those of you who may not be familiar, so NetSuite is widely regarded as the first cloud company founded in 1998. It was then acquired by Oracle in 2016 for almost $10 billion US. Now, since then, NetSuite has expanded its customer base. There are now customers in 217 countries, independent territories, and recently the number of customers worldwide has exceeded 38,000 customers, with over 6,000 new customers in the previous year to date. Now, NetSuite is regarded as the #1 cloud-based ERP, and with NetSuite, you get one version across all of the customers that are using the system. So NetSuite has 2 different upgrades every year, and what that means is there's no chance of version lock. You're not going to get stuck with the version of NetSuite that you're in. You're going to be automatically upgraded twice per year as part of that software as a service subscription. Now, in terms of the platform in a bit more detail, NetSuite provides all of the functionality that is required to run your business. Now, of course, this will vary based on the industry that you work in or the type of business that you are, but generally speaking, NetSuite's core business functionality looks across the financial management, which includes local and global financial management. So if you have multi-subsidiaries, multi-entities, multi-currencies across the globe, then they are all part of the one unified system and the one version of the truth. Now, beyond that, depending on the type of business that you are, you can add different modules. So you'll see here around the diagram on the screen, you might require warehouse management, ERP, SRP, project management, time and expenses, supply chain management, manufacturing, inventory management, and so on. Now, as well as being able to add on the individual modules, NetSuite also pre-packages the offerings based on the different industries of NetSuite customers. So that might be the likes of wholesale distribution, manufacturing, services, software, or even not-for-profit. There are all individual NetSuite additions based on how existing customers are using the system. Now, with those additions, you get various different KPIs, dashboards, user roles, workflows, and thousands of hours of pre-configured functionality, which are all based on leading practices, so how the 38,000 plus existing NetSuite customers are currently using the system. Now, beyond that, you'll see around the outside of the diagram, we've got the Suite Bundler, which allows you to install different functionality, different bundled products within NetSuite. You've got the Suite Analytics, which allows you to do the reporting, save searches, which we'll get into during the demonstration. We've also got Suite Talk, which allows us to form integrations with other third-party applications. Suite Script, which allows you to further develop NetSuite beyond the standard functionality, and Suite Flow and Suite Builder, which finish the outside of that diagram there. Now, as mentioned, there's various different editions of NetSuite, from your wholesale distribution to your manufacturing to your software services, not-for-profit. But today's focus is going to be on the starter edition of NetSuite. Now, with the starter edition, it's really focused on hitting the ground running, getting you in there as quickly as possible, and providing that core functionality that you require to get started, but then having that stairway approach where you can add additional modules and functionality over time, depending on how you want to grow alongside the software. So with the SuiteSuccess Starter Edition of NetSuite, you'll see here that you get the 5 key areas of financials management, item management, lead to quote, so that's your CRM side of the system. NetSuite does have an inbuilt CRM as standard. Your order to cash, which also includes your return to credit, and then your procure to pay, which also includes your return to debit. Now, with the different areas here, which we'll go through in the demonstration, you also get roles based on how NetSuite users are likely to access the system. Now, these roles, from controller to executive to purchasing, sales, and inventory manager, define the permissions and restrictions of how users access the system and how they interact with different dashboards, reports, KPIs, even forms for how they're entering information into the system. Now, once again, we'll go through these user roles in a bit more detail once we jump into the demonstration. Now, NetSuite is a true cloud system, so it can be accessed anytime, anywhere, on any supported browser. And additionally to that, there is also a mobile application. So if you want to access NetSuite on the go, then rest assured you'll be able to do so. Now, I've logged in just now to a SuiteSuccess Starter Edition of NetSuite, a demo account that we've got set up for today's webinar. And you'll see in the top right-hand corner, we are currently logged in as the controller role. If we hover over our roles here, you'll see that we've got our controller, executive, inventory manager, purchasing, and sales, as well as an administrator role, which has full access to the system, and an employee center role, which is a lighter access license, which allows users to enter and approve expense reports, purchase requests, as well as enter time if you are tracking timesheets within your organization. Now, coming across to the top, you'll see that we've got a global search bar. So say, for example, we want to search for different suppliers in the system. We can simply start typing and it will come up with some suggestions there on what we are looking for within NetSuite. Now, beyond that, if we want to look for specific transactions, so say, for example, a specific PO, we can search for that within NetSuite and then access that directly from our global search. So really limiting the amount of time that is required when we are looking for different records and transactions within the system. Coming along the top, you'll see here that we've got a traditional menu structure. Now, depending on the user role, this will vary, as you'll see later on in the demonstration. But this is providing that breakdown of different areas within NetSuite that the controller, in this case, might want to access. Now, coming down to the home dashboard itself, the home dashboard is focused on giving as much actionable insight and visibility as possible as soon as you log into the system. Now, these dashboards come out of the box with the different editions of NetSuite based on how, once again, a financial controller or CEO, inventory manager, purchasing or sales user is likely to use the system. Now, with the home dashboard, although this comes out of the box, it can also be personalized. So we can add additional sections to our home dashboard, as well as editing the sections that we've already got on the dashboard itself. So say, for example, our reminders here that's on the left-hand side, if we want to move that front and central, then we can do so using that drag and drop functionality. Now, coming back to the reminders there on the left-hand side of our dashboard, this provides us with that actionable insight as soon as we log into the system. So in this case, we are tracking invoices, so we can look at invoices that are overdue, as well as any high-level invoices. So in this case, invoices that are over 30 days old and over 50,000 Australian dollars in value. Now, if we click on this here, this will take us into the report or save search that is pulling this information from, and then we can get access to that invoice directly from here as well. So once again, being able to take control and make actions as soon as we log into the system. Now, with our reminders, we are in complete control of the setup of this. So if we want to add additional reminders, whether that be standard reminders that come out of the box or custom reminders that we create ourselves based on the information that's housed within NetSuite, then we are in control of what we see on our home dashboard, as well as the rules in terms of how we highlight these reminders as well. Coming to the KPIs in the center of the screen, you'll see here that for the financial controller, it's all focused around high-level KPIs across the entire business. So from your sales to your payables, receivables, expenses, inventory, and total bank balance. Now, all of these figures and the KPIs come from different reports which are within NetSuite. So these are all drillable, which I'll come back to later on. But you'll see here we are comparing our current KPI versus our previous KPI, as well as having the visibility of any change. So being able to view any trends, as well as having our trend graphs along the top here as well. Now, as with our reminders, our KPIs are configurable by the end user. So if we want to add standard or custom KPIs, we can do so through this screen here. And we can also select the range that we are looking to compare, as well as the rules around when we are highlighting the KPIs on our home dashboard. Now, once again, these are all drillable, so I'll come back to that once we go through the rest of the home dashboard. On the right-hand side, you see we've got some KPI meters. So this is taking our KPIs from here and showing these in a slightly more visual format. So once again, as soon as we log into the system, we can see exactly where we are in terms of our sales and our total bank balance, with, of course, the option to change the KPI that we are viewing on the KPI meter. Scrolling down here, you'll see we have our tiles, which is just another way that we can access different reports and pages within NetSuite. But whether you're accessing the reports and pages through the global search or through the traditional menu structure or through the tiles or a navigation shortcut group, then it's very much up to the end user how they want to navigate through the system. And you're going to get quickly and easily to where you need to be within NetSuite. You'll see on the left-hand side, we've got an example of a trend graph. Now, once again, we are in complete control of how this is visualized, whether we want to change the KPI or if we want to add a KPI for comparisons, and whether we want to change the type of trend graph that we are viewing there as well. And once again, we can do that at the click of a button and change that on our home dashboard. Scrolling down here, you'll see that we have also got our subsidiary navigator. So as mentioned, NetSuite provides that one unified system for your entire business. Now, if you are a group structure and you have multiple different subsidiaries, then they are all housed within the one unified system as well. Now, with that, you also get some automation around the consolidation of your financial accounts. If you've got any eliminations required as part of that month-end process, then they will be automatically managed through that intercompany functionality within NetSuite. Scrolling down further, just to give a taste of some of the different trend graphs that you may have on your home dashboard, you'll see in the left-hand side, we've got our top 10 customers by sales. We can see at a glance exactly who those customers are. And in the middle here, we've got a trend graph looking at our sales across the previous year to date. And once again, we are in complete control of how we are visualizing that on our home dashboard. At the bottom here, you'll see that we've also got our financials overview scorecard. Now, like the KPIs at the top, this gives the financial controller visibility of all of those key figures across the business. You'll see here that once again, these are drillable. These are taken from different reports within the system. And we can also create trend graphs on the fly. So in this case, one for our bank balance. And if we wanted to take this out of the system, then of course we can do that. We have got that full access to all of the data within NetSuite. So if we're creating any board packs, board reports, then we can take that data in the form of trend graphs directly out of NetSuite and use those for our reporting packs. Now, coming back up to the top, you'll see here, as mentioned earlier, we've got our KPIs, which are all drillable. So if we take our expenses, for example, we can see here that there's been a 1.4% increase comparing this period versus last period. So if we want to interrogate, we can simply drill down on the figure there, which has opened our P&L in a separate tab. Now, once again, given that NetSuite is within your browser, that means that standard browser functionality applies. So if we wanted to keep our home dashboard open whilst having a P&L in the separate tab, then we are more than able to do that. Now, this has opened up our P&L, which you may notice is particularly streamlined. Now, NetSuite's leading practice is to keep the chart of accounts as streamlined as possible, where possible, and then use classifications which are tagged on transactions to slice and dice that information. Now, with those classifications, you can have an unlimited number of custom segments. So whether that's wanting to slice and dice based on revenue stream or your departments, so cost centers, or locations or projects, whatever you as a business need to report on and need to slice and dice your financial accounts on, then you can do so with those classifications. Now, from here as well, before we get into those classifications, you can see that these figures are also drillable as well. So if we drill into our sales and then into our invoices, once again, we can open these in separate tabs. We can continue working away on our report, viewing the full detail of what makes up our sales type 1 figure here, whilst opening up those invoices in a separate tab, allowing us to get all the way down to that transactional level of detail just from a few clicks of our home dashboard. Now, coming back to our summary, you'll see down the bottom that we've got various different options. So I'll just roll this back to the previous fiscal year just to make sure that we've got a good range of data here. You also see that we've got our subsidiary context. So we're currently looking at this on a consolidated level. But if you wanted to look at that on a subsidiary by subsidiary basis, then of course we can filter down our P&L using those different subsidiary filters as well. Coming to the column, as mentioned, we've got the classifications which are used to slice and dice our financial data. So if we use class as an example, this might be our different revenue streams. We can see that side-by-side comparison. So we can see exactly how we are performing across those different revenue streams within our business. Now, another example I mentioned is the department. So perhaps looking at cost centers across your business. Once again, you can slice and dice that information so we can see exactly how we are performing across those different departments within our organization. One final example I've got set up here is our locations. So once again, we might have various different locations in this demo account. We've got Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney, and we can see at a glance exactly how we are doing across those different locations just by using those classifications. Now, as mentioned, you can have an unlimited number of custom segments there to allow you to slice and dice that information. So regardless of what you as a business need to see, then that can be housed using those custom segments. Coming back to the summary here, you'll see down the bottom that we've also got the option to customize this report. Now, although NetSuite comes with various different reports out of the box with the SuiteSuccess Standard Edition, that is over 95 for your Starter Edition of NetSuite. You can also customize those reports as well. So if you want to take a report that already exists within NetSuite and make some changes, perhaps add in additional rows or columns, then you can do that through the Customize button here, which would take us to our financial report builder. You'll see down the bottom as well that we've also got the option to export to Excel, PDF, CSV, or Word document, as well as the option to print, email, or schedule our reports out of the system. Now, coming back to our home dashboard, you'll see here that we've got the ability to access various different reports. You'll see here that they're all kept in different sections, whether it's a financial report, a sales report, purchase report. These all come out of the box with the Starter Edition of NetSuite. Now, in terms of the different roles, as mentioned, we have got the Employee Center, which is an example of a lighter license type within NetSuite. So if we go into our Employee Center, you'll see exactly how this differs. So this is a more locked down user access, mainly focused on entering and approving purchase requests, as well as expense reports and entering time tracking, so timesheets if need be as well. If we go here and enter a purchase request, you'll see here that the user is able to enter all of the information required for that purchase request, including the supplier, the location, as well as the items or expense codes that they are looking to enter the purchase request for. Now, if we select the location as Sydney here and then enter some items, now these items may be inventory items or they may be non-inventory items. So in this example, I'll use a general non-inventory item called office supplies. Now from here, we can then enter additional information. So we'll just use the example of ordering some laptops. So say 2 laptops for the sales team. You'll see here that the department has automatically defaulted to the sales department based on the user. So Adam Young, who we are currently logged in as, is within the sales department, which means that this is automatically defaulted to sales on our department filter there as well. It's then a case of entering our quantity as well as our rate, clicking add, and then submitting our purchase request. Now, once that has been submitted, NetSuite is then going to check for any approval routings that exist within the system. Now, those approval routings can be customized based on your business rules. So whether that be a hierarchical approval routing, going to supervisors who have a set approval amount, or whether that be different departments based on the type of purchase that is going to be made, then that can be set up based on your requirements. But you can see here that this has gone to a status of pending supervisor approval once we have entered that into the system. Now, if we go to our related records tab here and onto our approvals, we can see that the next approver here is Stella James, who is our purchasing role within this demo account. So if we go to our purchasing role, we'll be able to see straight away on our home dashboard that we have got 2 different purchase requests that require our approval. So we've had one previously and we've got the one that we've just entered in there just now. Now, before we get into that, you'll see that in the purchasing role, once again, with the starter edition of NetSuite, there is a home dashboard that comes out of the box based on how somebody in the purchasing department is likely to access the system and the different areas within NetSuite that they are likely to require access to. So the KPIs here in comparison to the financial controller are more focused on the purchase orders. So looking at inventory, the total number of purchase orders, as well as the total value of purchase orders as well. And once again, these reports are drillable. So if we drill down on that total purchase order value, we can see a breakdown across the different suppliers. And once again, if we wanted to drill down further, we could see a breakdown of all of the invoices and purchase orders related to these suppliers as well. So we can once again get down to that granular transactional level from a couple of clicks from our home dashboard. Now, picking back up on the purchase request workflow, you'll see here that we have got our PO 654, which could be approved in bulk if we wanted to do so, or we can drill into the purchase request itself. We can see all of the information that has been entered by Adam Young, and then we can approve the purchase order from there. Now, with NetSuite, there is also the option to generate PDFs of our purchase orders, which can also be automatically emailed to our supplier based on the approval routing there as well. So you see here, this has now been approved by the supervisor and it's gone to a status of pending receipt. And with that, on our communication tab, we can see on our messages, this has been automatically emailed by Stella James, who is our purchasing role we are currently logged in as just now. And we'll see here that we have attached that PDF of the purchase order. Now, this is just an example of how that PDF could look. Of course, we can customize this PDF to include your company's branding and any additional information that you would require to send to your suppliers. Beyond that as well, going back to our related records and on our approvals, you'll see here that we've got a timestamp. So from an audit perspective, we can see exactly who has approved this purchase request and when it has been approved as well. Now, if this was a more complex routing that we had set up, that could go through multiple levels of approval as well, and we'd be able to see exactly who had approved that and when as well. Now this has gone to a status of pending receipt. So if we log in as our inventory manager role just now, we can now receive this purchase order. Now, once again, with the starter edition of NetSuite, there is an inventory manager role and a dashboard that comes out of the box with that role as well. And once again, our KPIs, all of the information on our home dashboard is all focused on inventory related data. Now, for example, our inventory here, if we drill through on this will take us to our inventory valuation summary report. And if we wanted to drill down to the granular detail that makes up this report, then we can see the different inventory items here. We can see any movements, whether that be a negative movement through an item fulfillment or a positive movement through an item receipt. And once again, we could drill all the way down into those transactions as well if we wanted to interrogate that data further. Now, coming back here, you can see on the reminders that we have got our orders to receive. So now that we have approved that purchase order, it's been automatically sent away to our supplier. We can now receive this purchase order in as well. So once again, we can receive in bulk, or we can click through into the purchase order itself, click receive, which is going to create an item receipt or goods receipt within NetSuite, which is going to be intrinsically linked to that purchase order, as we can see here through the traceability of where this item receipt has been created. Now, it's in a case of clicking save, which generates that item receipt. And if we go back to our purchase order, you'll see that the status of that purchase order has updated to pending bill. Now, on our related records tab as well, beyond seeing the approvals that have taken place, we can also see the item receipt, which is related to this purchase order. Now, once again, if we jump back and forth between these different users, if we go back to our controller user, we are now able to enter the invoice for this purchase order. So once again, if we go to our reminders, we can see that we have got 5 purchase orders to be invoiced. And if we go to our PO 654, which we have been working through as an example, then we can invoice this directly from the purchase order. So we can enter in that supplier record against this purchase order. Now, beyond this, there are various different options for OCR, scan and capture solutions. So if you want to have a dedicated email address that suppliers send their invoice to, there are native solutions available which allow NetSuite to pick up those invoices, compare those against the purchase order and the item receipt, and then run a 3-way match process if required to allow the system to look for any variances, whether that be across the amount, so the value of that supplier invoice, or the quantity that's been received, then that can be all run through that 3-way match functionality within NetSuite. Now, since we've created this invoice directly from the purchase order, you see that it's picked up all of that information. But once again, if we were to enter in any varied information there, so perhaps a different rate from what we're expecting on the purchase order, then that 3-way match process would kick in, allowing the system to basically bring any visibility to any variances out with our set tolerances that we have got within the system. Now, in this case, we have not entered in any variances, so this supplier invoice will be entered into the system without any warnings. And from here, we can then either record the payment here, or we can go to our payment processing tab and create a bank. We can create an EFT file, which can then be uploaded to our banking platform to run through the payments that are included in that payment processing. Now, this is a simple process of selecting the AP account that we are wanting to show transactions from. We also select the bank account that we are going to be making that payment from. So we'll just select our Starter Edition bank account that we've got set up in this demo account. This will just load in a moment. We can then filter down based on different transaction types or due dates or certain suppliers. In this case, we're just going to keep it general. And this will show us all of the transactions which are available for EFT, so our electronic file transfer. And then we can select those that we want to be included on this bill payment. We can select submit. We can also have an approval process in place as well if we want this payment file to be approved before we can generate that and upload it to our bank. Okay, so that's us run through a couple of different user roles there. So we've gone through the financial controller, the inventory manager, as well as the purchasing role. We've got about 10 minutes left, so would be good to finish up on the sales user before we have some time for our Q&A at the end of the session. So once again, with the NetSuite Starter Edition, there is full CRM functionality that comes out of the box, which allows you to track leads, so all the way from a lead being generated. Now, that could be entered manually in the system, or it could also be entered through a lead capture form, which can be embedded within your website. Now, that relationship can then be tracked from lead to prospect. So a prospect would be a lead that then has an opportunity recorded against that record, and then all the way to sales. So once we actually create an order or an invoice and start transacting with that customer. Now, you see here in the sales role, we've got that visibility of our KPIs. So looking at sales, looking at new leads, new business, new customers that are coming into the system. And once again, we can drill down. So in this case, we are drilling into our sales by customer report, and we can see exactly how we are performing across our different customers. Now, beyond that as well, we've drilled down into the detail. We can see all of this information for Black Dragon Corp in this example. So we can see all of the invoices that make up that total. Now, once again, we could drill down. We could see exactly the detail of the transactions here, so of the invoices. And once again, we can open those in separate tabs and see exactly what items have been included on these invoices for this customer. Now, coming back to the report, beyond that, if we drill into the customer record itself, now you can drill into this customer record from reports or from the global search. We have got a dashboard for this specific customer. So you see here we have got our top 5 items by sales. So looking at the value of sales to our Black Dragon Corp customer, being able to compare and contrast those. And once again, we can be in complete control of the different period that we're looking at, the different format that we're looking at this trend graph, as well as the different KPIs that we are looking at there as well. Speaking of KPIs, we've also got the visibility here of our current versus previous period for our sales, our forecast, our balance, and so on, as well as being able to see the percentage change on the right-hand side. So we can see at a glance exactly how we are performing for this customer. Scrolling down, you'll see here that we've also got a list of all of the transactions with this customer. Now we can filter those down. So if we're looking for specific sales orders or invoices, we can filter that to see just those transactions that we are looking for. Now, beyond that, we also do have that full CRM functionality. So if you're wanting to track any phone calls, events, or tasks, as well as any due dates or time recorded against those activities, then we can do that as well using our activities tab here. Now, of course, that's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the NetSuite Starter Edition, but if you do have any questions about the functionality that is included, then please feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, if you want to look at one of the different editions of NetSuite based on your company's industry, then once again, please get in touch and we'd be more than happy to provide a more in-depth discovery session as well as demonstration of what NetSuite can do and how you can start your journey to automating your business processes with NetSuite. I don't think there has been any questions so far, but if you do have any questions, then please once again drop those in the Q&A and we'd be more than happy to answer those. Thanks again for joining today's webinar, and once again, if you have any questions, then please feel free to get in touch. Thank you.